Recording.
I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Palm Springs Public Art Commission for the City of Palm Springs. It is Thursday, December 4th at 2025 at 5:30 p.m. Jay, can you do roll call, please?
Yes, Commissioner Hanner.
Here.
Commissioner Landy. Here. Commissioner Gascon is not going to be attending. Commissioner Kibbe.
Here.
Commissioner Cameronese. Expected but not yet here. Commissioner Loya.
Here.
Vice Chair Gonsalves.
Here.
Chair Armstrong.
Here.
We have quorum.
Excellent, thank you. Would someone like to make a motion for the acceptance of the agenda? I do have one change on it though. And I would like to move item G4 up to be the first item we discuss. In case any commissioners need to leave, I think I'd like to make sure that they're present. So if we can move that up to the first thing we vote on, and I have no other changes.
I make a motion to accept the agenda with the moving of item number G further up front.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Next, public comments. This time has been set aside for members of the public to address the Public Art Commission on items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission. And agenda items if a member of the public cannot be present later in the meeting at the time the item is heard by the commission. Additionally, members of the public may address the commission on each item listed on the posted agenda at the time each item is heard. Although the Public Art Commission values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take any action on item not listed on the posted agenda. 3 minutes are assigned for each speaker. Jay, are there any public comments?
Audience, anyone like to make public comments? There are no public comments.
Very good. Remarks from the chair, I'll keep it brief. One, as you know, we still have an opening on the commission and we sent around an application. City staff sort of had a little screw up and a hiccup and that was fixed, so you can now apply. So please make sure you get as many people applying as possible. Not only will they be eligible for this one spot, but if any commissioners whose terms are up in June opt not to reapply, they will be considered for that as well. So all applications go into the archive for this, the city commission work.
Is there a deadline for this application?
I have not heard the deadline yet. Have you, Jay?
I haven't heard the deadline, but there is a deadline.
It's there.
It's there, and I don't want to say April and find out it's February, so I just want to be careful.
I would think it's going to be even sooner than February. I think they're going to appoint probably like January. So I would get them in by the end of the month.
And our previous ones in the archive,
I'm sorry.
previous applications?
Correct.
They also
Yeah.
are in the
Yeah.
archive.
So, yeah. It's just
So if
ongoing.
they've already applied, do they need to apply again?
If they've applied, they can reapply. Sure.
No, so it's not archive where you pull them up and let them know.
I believe the process that happens is they look within the archive if anybody's appropriate, and then they also look at the new ones as well. So everybody is eligible. They don't toss the old ones out. What they will do is if they've applied previously, they will reach out to them and say, are you still considered in being a part of the commission? They don't want to put them forth and go through an interview process if they're not. Okay. Would someone like to make a motion for approval of the minutes for the November 6th, 2025 meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. November 6th, 2025.
November 6th. Yes, November 6th.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you. Items for discussion and approval. Jay, would you like to discuss rescheduling the January 1st meeting as a regular meeting effects with New Year's Day?
Yes. We've looked at when we have available dates for having the meeting so that we don't have to have it on the 1st of January. And looking at the calendar, what we have are October 8th.
October 8th?
October,
I'm sorry.
January
Am I in the right calendar? January 8th. January 8th. You know what, give me 1 minute to pull up the calendars.
It was, I thought it was January 8th and January 22nd were the top two.
Those are the 2 Thursdays.
I personally would prefer we do it as soon as possible rather than waiting, because then we're closer to the next one and we've got a lot of outstanding business. So does January 8th work for everybody?
Yeah.
Works for
Yes.
me.
Great. Unanimous, January 8th.
Just to confirm it's available December. Okay, for January 8th.
Excellent. So our next meeting, January 8th. So make note for when whoever does the closing of the meeting, that's when our next meeting is, the adjournment. Next item, discuss steps for coordinating with the Parks and Recreation Commission to identify potential public art locations within city parks. As background on this, and I repeat this for the newer commissioners. When I first joined the commission 4 years ago, I was young and innocent, wasn't much better. And the then chair sort of said, why don't you go to the next Parks Commission meeting? I did not know that the Art Commission and the Parks Commission were like the Bloods and the Crips with each other. And because it turns out what happened is the Art Commission at the time would put art in parks and not consult with the Parks Department or the Parks Commission. And that really pissed off the Parks Commission. Now I went and they were very aggressive with me, and I just kept saying I was not on the commission then. I had nothing to do with that. I'm here now. I want to look at how we can work together moving forward. And so since that time, I go to the commission meetings probably every quarter. I give them updates on things, and whenever there's anything outstanding, I come. Jace is nodding his head because Jace is the vice chair of the Parks Commission, and he is going to attest to that fact. The one thing that I would always say in the Art Commission's defense at the Parks meeting is, by our ordinances, we are responsible for location. We choose the location and we're responsible for the location, and we identify the general area of where public art goes. The Parks Commission does not have that authority. We do. And that surprised a lot of people in the Parks Commission, including someone who I met with Jace with 2 weeks ago, and she said, I was pissed off when I first heard you were putting art there, and then I read your ordinances and realized you have that authority. Now, I've always gone to the Parks Commission thinking, well, they need to be involved, but we can't give them final sign off, but we need to consider their concerns. And to me, the two things that we should consider with the Parks Authority is activities and safety. So I can look at a place and say, this is a great place for a piece of art. But the Parks Commission will say, Saturday mornings at 8, there's kickball there. I may not know that because I went and looked at 2 in the afternoon. And so that's always been my guiding light, is activities and safety issues. Because again, the Parks Department has concerns about things that, for public art, maybe a new piece might be home for bees coming up, and we may not have considered that. But that's something that the Parks Commission, the Parks Department does all the time with every piece in there. They also look at things that are, is this matching what playground equipment does? Will a kid stick their head in there? So we can't have holes that a kid can stick their head in and get stuck, which they do with every piece of playground equipment. So it's always been sort of a nice relationship, but I always say this is our authority. And City Council, city lawyer has said placement and location of art is within the authority of the Public Art Commission. We are responsible. We have one main chore, and that is adding to and maintaining the collection. The collection, we are responsible for placement in terms of, and making sure it's properly sited, meaning, is it getting damaged? Is there landscaping around it that shouldn't be? Is it got a good view? Now, a more modern approach is, as you've heard me say, I always want to ensure that you can take a photo of the artwork and it looks good. I want a nice backdrop behind it. I want pieces so that you can see a piece of art and there's mountain or at least a palm tree behind it. So you know it's in Palm Springs and not in like Akron or something, no offense to Ohio. So after conversations with Mr. Brickley and the chair of the Parks Commission and the head of the Parks and Recreation Department, I suggested that we create an audit of the parks. And I said there should be a joint audit between the Parks Commission and the Art Commission, where they're, for one day, they go and visit and walk every city park. They look at the location, they look at pieces of existence at the park and say, this is appropriate in a park, but it's in a bad location because the landscaping irrigation is destroying it. Or maybe they put playground equipment or shade structure for the playground equipment too close to the art, and the art doesn't look as good as it should. And so I unilaterally suggested that the two vice chairs take the lead on that and work together. So Tina and Jace have met and they're talking. We met with John Brickley doing some other stuff. So the idea is that they will do an audit where every park will be walked within a day. Just walk the park, look at it, look at everything, and determine locations where art can be installed, even if we don't have art right now. So Natasha, who's not here, she keeps saying, we need art on this one corner of Francis Stevens Park. I agree. That'll be a long process because it's a historic park. You need approval on that. But yes, that'd be a place that in this audit with a map of the park, they can say this future art will go here. We don't know when. Might be in 2 years, might be in 5 years, but it will be designated as a future art location. And that is in our ordinances. It does state that we determine the general area where art is acceptable. So John will supply, what did you call those maps?
Plot maps?
Yeah, maybe, okay. You had a really fancy technical sounding name when you talked about them. We wanted one that shows irrigation and everything. So if they say, oh, we want to move it over here, there's not going to be underground drainage there or pipes or anything like that. So we don't spend money rerouting irrigation. So Tina, Jace, did you want to come up? Oh, this is Jason, but he's the vice chair. Did you guys want to say anything? The idea is that they will take the lead and other commissioners should join them. So I think you can take up to 3, so we don't have quorum, and you can take up to 3 on your side as well. Do you have parks commissioners have already volunteered for it?
2, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'll have 3 easy.
Okay, so Tina can take up to 3 commissioners who will participate, and you will work with the Parks Commission as well, coming up with this overall park audit.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So you're looking at this for the purposes of moving art that may not be optimally located.
That's one
currently.
point.
And second is for placement of future art.
Correct.
However, it can't go out 5 years because things can happen in a park that changes optimal location, right? So how
Sure.
often will they do this audit? And how do we make sure that each of the commissioners on future commissions
So,
have access?
so the parks put together a master plan, and the master plan is in place now. And how far ahead does the master plan?
10 years.
10 years. How long will it take to implement that? 10 years?
That includes playground equipment and all those things. and
Future water fountains and future. yeah.
Planting and everything.
Yeah. So the idea is that this art placement will be an overlay to the master plan. And as I said, there will be a lot that we know we may not have art for yet, but we just think this is a potential place for future art where we think it would be really good. Now, when we were in Sunrise Park, they're expanding the library. They're doing a new driveway to the library. That's a perfect place for public art. We don't know what, but it's, that if you've seen the library, that side opening that they're going to make the main opening again, that just screams for monumental public art. There's no location on here. That'll be 2 years out. Hey, this is something we need art for here. Okay. So 2 people would like to join the task force. Anyone?
Depending on the day.
Well, that's another thing. It's going to be more, Jason and I talked about, it's more than 1 day's worth of work. There's, I think, a dozen parks, I believe, in Palm Springs. You can't walk them all in a day. So it's probably going to be 3 days, maybe 3 hours each. And we'll schedule them. I mean, 6 people is a lot to schedule. So You know, I think Jason's gonna do this for his commission meeting in January, so we'll probably start in January. And hopefully we can get it done within 4 to 6 weeks with everyone's schedule, so. So you two will both do it?
No, I had a question.
No, I think a hand up is, you volunteered.
Yes, what's the question?
You mentioned that in the instance of Francis Stevens Park, because there's a historical factor, that it can take even longer to place art. Are approvals of art done as a tandem where it's both the art and the location have to be approved? Or can we pre-approve places and say, this is reserved for art? Make some notes that in this place, because of irrigation, we're gonna need, you know, an enamel something rather than wooden something or other. But can the places be identified in advance to shortcut that lengthy process?
Excellent
And,
question. Yes. And so the answer is yes. So when I met with the head of planning, Christopher Hadwin, and I addressed surprise and concern that we needed approval to put art in Francis Stevens Park, because I said the commission has been putting art there and removing art there. And no one mentioned anything, and Public Works was removing it. No one mentioned it. He said, well, you know, it's a challenge, but he said, what we can do to help you is we can pre-approve locations. And sort of, so for example, the downtown park. The downtown park, if you look at the approved plan that was signed off on by council, the area where we put lawn chair in the park is called Art Gallery. That's what's listed on the master plan right there. So we can put art there, pre-approved. So that's the idea. Is let's get these areas in every city park that can be pre-approved with consultation and advisement from the Parks Commission, again, for safety issues and activity issues. But our goal is to ensure that everything is properly elevated, you know, taken care of and looks good. And, you know, like we're doing in Sunrise Park, creating a nice elegant art walk so things relate to each other as well. So it's not the raisin bread effect where we're just shoving raisins everywhere.
And this relates to sites within the dozen parks. Tina, was your and Natasia's exercise broader than that as well? You were identifying sites that were city-owned, but elsewhere outside of parks, like, for example, out at the train station.
Yeah, that wasn't really the primary goal. Our primary goal was to find pieces that already existed, but during, not me so much, but I know Tasia, when she went out, she would look for spaces that could potentially hold new art. But that wasn't really the goal of the
Gotcha.
inventory. Yeah.
Why don't we throw those in the basket as well and start lining up approvals for all sorts of locations?
Well, I think we, you know, let's stay focused on the parks first, because there are some other areas that, for example, there's city property that the Parks Commission and Parks Department has oversight on, but they're not technically a park. So let's, you know, they're parklets or whatever the hell the city calls them. But let's stay focused on the parks first and then move on to, that can be phase 2.
Okay.
And we have a lot of pieces of art, beautiful shade, art in the park, a lot of pieces that are going to need to be installed in the next year, I would say. Or so. And this will help both the Park and Rec and, we know what parks are going into, but we don't really know where in the parks are going. And what I offered Jace and his team was to give them pictures of all those pieces of art that are currently in commission, pictures of them, the dimensions of them, so they understand like what it would look like in their parks. So they're doing the map of the park, and we're providing pictures of the arts that are coming.
And for clarity, that gentleman there in the suit, Mr. Brickley, is well aware of where all those pieces are going. So he's sort of been our ambassador to this item. So, but what can happen is if we determine this is a good area for art, we can then work and say, we're going to put a cement pad in here. We're going to put a 6x6 cement pad in here that we know. And then eventually it will be a piece of artwork there. Maybe there's another piece we have now. Maybe we can plan, you know, so there's a planning component, but at the same time, we have to be realistic.
Is that kind of standard? A 6x6 pad will accommodate a lot of different things that we might choose to put in.
I'm not the expert, but after this past year, I would say I don't think there is a standard. So, you know, the ones we're doing now are specifically for the art pieces, the artscape and parks pieces that will be installed.
So the artscape was a specific request from council of wanting significant art in each park. So that's why there was some big pieces there. So, but if you look at the pieces that were done in the collection previous years, I think 6x6 would cover it. You know, the pillars were 6x6. Some of the other pieces in Sunrise Park are 6x6 pedestal.
It does make sense to the point of future sites of restoring what's in the collection and locating sites for them and actually utilizing them rather than going out and potentially purchasing new art
Yeah.
for locations where in fact we have existing art that are restored.
So, and again, this, you know, just by designating a place of potential location for public art, we're not saying it will definitely go there.
Right, no, I understand.
Yeah, it's just, this is intended for art, and it will expedite the approval process between the planning department, if it's a historic park, between parks, between public works, so that it will be in the master plan of, this is intended to be art. Okay. So Tina will follow up with you, and
I can, if you guys require like flexibility in a schedule due to my 8 to 5, I don't really have much of that.
Okay.
So
Well,
that's why
what
I
Jason
asked
and I
about
can
the
do is we can put a sort of a sort of a straw man schedule together, like what parks we're gonna visit on what days. And if you guys can come on that day, or there is a particular park that you're more interested in, just join us on that day. It doesn't have to be the same 3 people every single time.
Oh, I was under the impression it's the same.
we just want to ensure that there's even balance of
Yeah.
representation between the parks and the art commission.
Okay.
So let us come up with a schedule and then we'll distribute around to the commission.
On that basis, we might all be able to cover
Sure.
a variety of parks.
And, you know, this is a perfect thing of, you know, we all sit at this table and have opinions on things, but we have to get involved. We have to see the parks. We have to see where the art is going. And that's something that they're discussing in the Parks Commission as well. You know, you need to be on the ground. We can't just keep this sort of bubble decision-making process as well. Any other questions on that? Next one, discuss and approve budget adjustments for discontinued projects and activities. This is something that I've been asking for a while. Jay has been asking for a while. And we got this document from the finance department. I looked at it and I have some questions, but I've asked Jay to walk us through this. Again, Jay did not create this document. And I want to ensure that everybody understands the language here, because if you have experience in finance, or you're accountant in your taxes or budget planning, you may use different language. So Jay, if you could walk us through this and just take us
Sure.
how everything is intended. Again, don't jump down his throat. This is not his document.
Let me go on and put that on the screen just for everyone. And sharing, okay. Sure, we can see that. So to read this document, looks like it's set up vertically so that there's a budget number, there is an obligated number, there's encumbrance numbers, all going from top to bottom for different accounts. So actually, let me first touch on the structure of the different accounts. Revenue is basically the available funds projected for the year. So that isn't really our budgeted number. That's just the sources that our finance department had projected for the current year FY25.
So now, Jay, is this number, this very first one, the one, is that 159?
159.
159, 400.
Mhm.
Is that the total amount of revenue that they got in from all the permits and the percentage? Or is that before they deduct other items? Is that just what they predict our budget's gonna be?
It's what they predict our budget's gonna be.
So there was more money that came in through permits pulled,
Mhm.
but they said, oh, this legal expenses come out of that first and all these other top line items.
Well, we'll have to confirm that, but my understanding is if it comes in if you're a developer, you go through the process, you pay your development fees, there is a line item that says public art fee. So that's one of the items you pay for your permits. And all of those public art fees, which many times are based on valuation of a project, go towards the public art fund. So anything that comes out of that would be after those fees are identified and allocated for expenditures in the public arts department, or public arts fund. And you'll see some of these here that we don't deal with, but the city takes them out because accounts contribute to the operation of the city. And these are that you'll see insurance lines and things like that. So those are,
So this does not have, from my quick review, does not have an account. It's not, there's no account on here that says, here's what's been collected in art fees in 2025.
That's, yeah, that's,
2026 hasn't happened
because
yet.
Jay and I had seen a previous document that sort of was the top line stuff removed, legal and accounting and all those, sort of
Well-
and then it came to this number, and I just want to know what this number is.
Yeah.
So,
Commissioner Kibbe, I think, the budget, when it's set, is before the actual fiscal year. And so it's a projection of what they think we're going to receive. So the actuals would be for the prior year. And then there's something called a mid-year adjustment that typically happens, or an adjustment sometime in the first quarter, where they either receive more or less revenue for the last year that has to come out of or be added to the current year's budget. And then they also include, carryover and things like that. So
Right, but none of that's reflected.
that, the negative 159,400 and negative 13,200 are the amounts for the current fiscal year that they projected.
projected.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is though, usually budgets have carry forwards.
Yeah.
From what is left from the previous year.
Right.
Right, so that you know what
Right.
that is. That's not on here, correct?
That's correct. This is just the new projected,
So it's just a budget.
correct?
It's not an actual financial
it's
accounting.
it's an estimate.
That's true. And, we have discussed in the past that we're getting close to spending the entire public art budget. And I think the only reason, or the major reason why we're still able to move forward is because of the carry forward funds. I think, I want to say it might have been $300,000 or $400,000. That I would have to check and see what that was. But those combined is really where we're operating in right now.
And are they working on getting us that, given our previous discussions?
Yes, what I want to do is get through this and go back to them and say, now that we've adjusted encumbrances and obligations, can we take another look at the actual available against the budget, estimated budget plus carry forward?
And then based on, just real quickly, before we move on, every month there are new permits, so there are new funds that come into the art fund. So we would then be able to get on a monthly basis the adjustments to revenue that's coming into our,
But we don't really even get access to the money until the permit is pulled.
well, nobody pays it until the permit's pulled. So at
Yeah.
the date you pull a
Yeah.
permit, there's money that goes into the art.
So
fund.
we'll know what we may be getting in 2 years.
No, permits are pulled immediately and you pay the fee immediately.
Well, let me throw this in there. The budget is an estimate. It's a plan and it's adopted by the city council. So as new monies, so finance estimates, let's say $200,000. As the permits come in, maybe they only get $150,000 up to a certain point, but we're still spending because the estimate was 200,000. So unless the projections get off kilter from what's actually coming in and it looks bad, there's no need to make an adjustment. But what I wanted to get to was changes to the budget at a certain level may require an amendment. So that would be going back to city council and then saying, wow, huge warehouse came in. We'd like to utilize those funds now. But we're not allowed to add $300,000 to the budget just willy-nilly. So it would require an amendment to the budget before it can actually be put into use and utilized.
And I recognize what you're saying is that, you know, those funds have to be reserved at some point for
Yeah.
the developer when he actually does potentially
Yeah.
do the art. My only thing is that knowing what's in the budget, what's reserved, what's spendable is valuable for us. as a
And that is the crux of what we're trying to do with the ordinance review is there should be an incentive for the developer to tell us they're not using their, as opposed to a penalty.
And what I'm trying to do as a commissioner is understand that there's $400,000, 300,000 is reserved for whenever, and we actually only have 100,000 and they're budgeting 159,000. And we're gonna have a shortfall. Even though we may not be responsible, the city will, and we do have a responsibility for that, right? So
Let's get to that. Let's check out some of these numbers.
this is the thing with me, you know?
Yeah, okay. So Jay, sorry for throwing you off track. So then the next one is art valuation services at $96,000. What is
Right.
that?
That is $79,000 that was just sitting there.
Ooh.
Plus 16,957 in the red of an actual encumbrance. So because we don't have this level of detail, we don't see, we're not getting exactly what Commissioner Kibbe's asking for, the available amount. But it washes through in the total. And let me,
But what is art valuation services?
well, the commission approved at the request of council member
Yeah.
to have an art valuation consultant available so that every time an art piece is purchased, that it can be valued to make sure we're paying the appropriate price for it.
How many times have we used that service?
We don't have anyone on board to do that. So, you know, and commissioners, it's, we could if you wish to, but, and there's 15,000 budgeted or encumbered for that if you wish to do that. But-
That was a request of the city council member?
That was,
Or
it
us?
was a previous city council member. It's been gone 3 years. And it was when we purchased popsicles for $15,000. And that council member didn't feel that popsicles was worth $15,000. And yet it was our most highly Instagrammed piece and it's very popular with people. And so then we said, we will hire an evaluation person to do that. And I believe we approved $25,000. And I don't know what the frequency was, but it was 25 and I know there were issues, but I don't see the value of carrying.
I would make a recommendation that we remove that as an item from our budget because we put out a proposal for art. We have a price, that's the value of the price if we accept a piece. We don't need to know if it's worth less or more.
Right.
That's what it's worth.
Don't we
At the
need those
moment.
numbers for insurance purposes?
No. And I see it that way because, as Commissioner Kibbe says, you know, the value of the art is
What we pay for?
initially what we pay for it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I would vote to recommend or to remove the art valuation services.
Okay. We'll create a, so in addition, art valuation services that's encumbered is 15,000.
Is that the name of the company, Art Valuation Services?
No, there is
Or
no
is it-
company. We don't have anybody on board. This is, you know, a potential company. So
Classification.
But
So money is earmarked for this purpose and hasn't been.
Thank you.
that's why it's
Yes, yes.
encumbered. It's not contracted for.
It
It's
has
just
not been
earmarked.
used in 3 years.
Can we un-earmark it if we're not using services,
That's the
That's why
purpose
we're
of-
here.
Yeah.
So we can vote to remove art valuation services.
including the encumbrance?
Yes,
Yes.
it would be in removing the encumbrance.
Yes.
But there's also remaining funds for Block G pop-up art in the amount of 1,957.
What's that for?
I think that was for some of the relocation costs, installation.
So
But
you-
we
so
know
we-
we're not doing anything there.
Is that the location where we couldn't put things because of the
Correct,
the
yeah.
gravel?
So confirm for us and identify for us, what does encumbered mean? How does our finance department use the phrase encumbered?
Well, okay, I may contradict myself here, but that we've entered into a contract and have to set aside the funds for that contract, and that those funds that are set aside are encumbered.
So that,
Which-
so the contract we entered into, and my understanding of some of the encumbered stuff is the contract is council has approved the use of the money. Correct?
Correct.
So for lot G, council approved us spending this much money to do the installation. And then for taming of the horses, we took some of the money and bought the metal plates. Mr. Brickley did that and he went against the lot G funds because that's how we were going to apply them. So we have a stack of metal plates to do the horses on. So we spent some of that money, but this encumbered money it's just sitting there.
Correct,
So that's more money we get back.
correct.
Very good, thank you. Next item, event and outreach materials and supplies. So this is just projected.
Projected, so the green really is something more of a planned / obligation, but no formal submittal to finance that these funds need to be reserved. This is the budget amount. And sometimes there are projects we've said we want to allocate this for, and sometimes it's just sitting there.
So this would be the sort of thing when in the past we've done the 1PS park or Art in the Park event where we put money towards an event in community outreach. Okay, I think that money's fine to keep as long as we're aware that it's there and we don't need to, it's not automatically spent. So if we need to change that classification, we can, correct?
Correct.
Insurance charges, property and liability. So this to me is one of those sort of overhead charges that comes in, but it's coming out of us here. So does the Parks Commission pay their insurance overhead?
Oh, I'm sure they do.
The commission
yes.
does or the department does?
I don't know. I mean, the commission is the governing body.
Yeah,
So.
okay. Okay. I just want to make sure that we're not being charged for things on here that aren't hitting other people. Like,
Mhm.
does everybody else get charged for legal the same way? Their insurance the same way? The
Right.
administrative staff the same way?
Right.
At $4,000, we barely have any insurance.
Yeah, so insurance charge. So is that just part of overall insurance for what?
For the city.
No, but what's it insuring? The art collection?
No, it's a contribution. And I'm saying no, I'm feeling fairly confident in that. It's an overhead allocation
Yeah.
that all the departments, budgeted entities
Okay.
contribute to the cost of running the city, and
Okay.
that's insurance. And then we probably get more bang for our buck.
And as we know, all pieces in the collection are insured through the
Yes.
city.
But that's not through this insurance. This is liability. Property and liability. I don't think this amount can't possibly be what's to cover the insurance of the actual collection.
The city covers the cost. This is just the small contribution.
To the city.
Yeah.
So if Tina and Lori are walking around Sunrise Park and trip and break their ankle in a gopher hole,
Mhm.
the insurance, we're covered for the insurance.
Parks Department covered.
If we
They're
don't
over
go
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if somebody's jumping off the Pride Monument in Francis Stevens Park, that would be charged to the Parks Commission.
It's charged to the city. It's-
Theoretically,
Yeah.
just hypothetically. Okay, got it. $50,000 signature sculpture, art cleaning and maintenance contract. Again, this is hypothetical for next year, for this year we're in.
No,
Oh, this-
commissioners, you
Oh, okay,
approved
okay.
this
Oh, so we
50,000.
approved that. Great.
Yeah.
I would prefer,
And when I say you approved it, you didn't say put 50,000 there. 50,000 was already there. And you approved a contract up to 50,000 for that.
For our next revision of this, can we get things that are approved in this different color than hypotheticals, like event outreach?
Yes.
Because to me, hypotheticals are sort of money that we can use if we need to. Whereas stuff that like maintenance, we've approved that.
Well, so there's what the commission's approved, there's what city council's approved, and there's contracts we're into, so could be very colorful at some point in time.
And we put a key at the bottom.
Minor art repair and touch-up services. Is that the sort of thing that Tyson Knight used to do for us?
Yes,
Okay. And how long has it been since we've had somebody doing that for us?
probably a year and a half or 2
Okay.
years.
So how much money, did we have this money last year and we never used it?
I believe so.
So did that money carry over?
Yes,
So this money, we need to find somebody to do the minor art repair.
yes, I will note that with the contract with Signature Sculpture, you included emergency repairs for about $6,400.
Okay.
So,
And I do recall that a lot of the Tyson Knight repairs were things on the park benches that were painted and the utility boxes. And a lot of that, some of them, the artists repair themselves, and others, the Enter Graffiti team covers them.
Right.
Some store owners downtown cover them themselves as well. I would vote to put that overall in the signature pool, because I know we were arguing over lack of money at the last meeting with signature.
I thought we approved though the additional amount.
yeah, Signature gave them.
I know, but we also wanted to wait until we got the 4Artscape and the
Right.
shade structure installed to know what would be needed to
Yeah.
it. So to me, these should all be one. That's my
Oh.
recommendation,
Okay,
particularly because the signature's doing minor art repairs right now.
yeah, technically it is one. They're all under the same line item. If you look over under
Okay.
the object column, they're all 50105, repairs and maintenance.
So the encumbrances of the 29, that's sort of part and parcel of that.
Yes, that's the current contract that, once they get the green light, they'll just continue doing along with the amended work.
So the next item, the Palm Springs Art Museum. 2 years ago in May, I was called by the then Mayor Pro Tem, who's the outgoing mayor, Mr. DeHart, and he said, "Are you aware that the museum is asking for $300,000 from the Art Commission budget?" I said, "I'm not aware of that. Why would they do that?" He said, "They put in here, they would think the Art Commission should contribute $300,000 for the free Thursday nights." Now, there's a misunderstanding whether we can even contribute to that or not, but I said, no one talked to me about that. He then followed up with me and he said, council approved the money, but they removed it from your art commission budget, so you'll have more money to do art. And I said, that's great. Now, I do know
Say it
that,
again, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry,
Say that again. I'm trying to hear how we got to, we'll have more money for it.
council approved the $300,000, but
The museum,
for the museum for free Thursday nights.
out of our budget.
No, they approved the money, but removed it from our budget. So it was coming
I
from
see.
general funds or something like that. And now I do recall that previous commission years, the commission did vote on money for the museum, a donation to the museum for the free. It wasn't 50,000, but it was a certain amount. So I was surprised to see this on here because, and so I've asked for clarification of, I thought we weren't doing it. Jay said it's been added to our budget every year, $50,000.
I would vote to have it removed.
And why would something like that be added to our budget that we didn't vote on?
And it's not a public arts
Correct.
activity.
And it's something that we don't know if it's the people going, they don't say, are you a resident of Palm Springs? They could be all from Cathedral City or Desert Hot Springs, right? Great, you're coming to see art, but why is it coming out of the Palm Springs Public Art budget?
Yeah, you just kind of walk in, there's,
It's really
open doors.
DJ and drinking, isn't it?
So,
Walking
I mean,
around
the
the
main
museum.
event, yeah, but
so now if,
People, but
And again, we are advised to council. If council says this has to come out of your budget, then we vote on it. I don't think that finance should be able to just remove. And especially this year, it's a third of the budget.
Yeah.
That should be a public discussion that, do we want a third of our entire budget going to a private organization, which the museum is, they're not city owned. Maybe we could make the decision, say, no, we'll give you 20 and we're going to give 20 to the cultural center. Or when they do art talks or something like that. So I'm not happy about this one. Anyone else have comments on it?
Let me add, my understanding was that at one point in time, there was actually an agreement already established that the city would make this payment. I don't know how many years that agreement ran for. So I will research that and see if that's still in effect and if it is an obligation here. But it would be something within the city manager's authority. So
And I'd like to make a recommendation, man, if we have 50,000 that needs to go to an organization, the city's gonna be doing that connectivity, which will need art. You know, I don't know if this is a conflict, but given that subcommittee as the head of that subcommittee, I think that we should be looking at how can we help make sure that it's great art as a commission.
I think that
Because
if
it's the
we're going to be
city.
using our funds for an outside organization, we should at least evaluate what organization we feel is best. And maybe it's individual organizations. I don't know. I just don't think a third of our budget should be used for a private institution right now.
I agree, it should come back in to actually put art in public spaces.
Correct.
So your understanding was that 300,000 had been approved by the council. It was being paid for outside of our budget, but now you've learned after seeing that not only is this 50,000 allocated assessed to us, but has been for the past couple of years.
Correct.
Without
Without the commission approving it.
without the commission
Did
approving.
it reduce the 300 or was it?
Don't know.
on top of it?
Don't know.
And in front of whom did the museum director and last year the museum's education head testify to request the money? Was it in front of the
It was,
council?
then Adam Lerner sent the request to council.
That's what I thought. And then
Yeah.
Louisa Heredia
Yeah.
testified
So-
for it last time.
So regardless, it was not, I was told it was not impacting our budget. And if it was, we should vote on it and have discussion on it.
Perhaps that's an error or something that was done by.
Well, Jay will find out.
I'll find out. Commissioners, maybe it's leverage. There is the 250,000 loan from Measure J.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an amount equal to 50,000 that would not have to be repaid.
It's, to me, we have guardianship over creating and maintaining public art in the city. We are telling communities, we don't have money to give you art. We'd love to, but we don't have the funds right now. And to find out that a third of our budget is going to a private institution for something that we did not approve or even discuss, it's kind of jaw dropping.
It isn't even art, they're not making art.
So, okay, next item, what is this? Placeholder, same as last year. Is that administrative services? Is that when we have like Christine or temp or something like that helping you? out?
This is like insurance. It's like a tax on the art fund. I'm not sure exactly what these expenditures go towards.
I would imagine, I would think that it would include things like when the insurance are out of the movie
This may be the attorneys.
and things like that where there's an overhead charge.
It just says administrative next to it too.
Yeah, and it's cut off because that's all I could see on anything else was administrative SC.
We'll look
Services.
into
maybe.
next. Okay. Other equipment, $5,000.
Something that's just kind of been budgeted over the years in case there's a need for a canopy or, I think we purchased a canopy at one point in time.
So would this be like the same as like the event and outreach materials?
Yeah, to me, they should be combined.
Right.
And I cannot see us in a year using $10,000 for community outreach.
No.
I put it back in our.
Public art acquisition, Public Art Commission projects, Pride Monument, Thompson Hotel, A's Memorial. They're missing, okay, you got the 70,000, you got the 120 for the A's Memorial and 192 for Thompson. Has that gone through council already?
Thompson?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And then the Royal Palm for 6,500. They were supposed to come back to us and they
They
never
never
did.
came back.
They never came back. So we haven't paid that yet.
No, it's, they could always come back until we change the ordinance.
Yep.
And that's what they had said, but I don't know that we need to hold it aside any longer. It was just that there was, they had expressed a intent to come back and present.
Okay. And then we jump down to public art cleaning, which we know that that's a lot, but we need to do it.
But I thought that was in the budget up above.
Yeah, so I think the description that says public art cleaning, see, it's 488,500. That is actually the Thompson Hotel, A's Memorial, Pride Monument, and Royal Palm Hotel, which total 388,500. So that's, I think the description is just wrong because it's actual art projects.
But there's an extra 100,000 in there.
The extra 100,000 was for the Wyatt mural.
I see it. Yeah, that's not cleaning. So that is probably also the artscape projects in there.
Artscape projects are the 69,550. In the box, the red descriptions in the box below sum up those encumbrances for the remaining amounts that have to be paid because half of, or a portion was paid the
Yep.
previous year.
Okay.
And so, and the 100,000 is for the mural.
That's
But you're
one
thinking-
thing to consider tonight, commissioners.
Where's the 100,000?
Well, he would, I said the Thompson AIDS Memorial, Pride Memorial, Royal
Yeah.
is 388,500,
Yeah.
leaving 100,000 left. That's not public art cleaning, that's up above. So what is the 100,000? And
So the 100,000, I bet was the Wyatt mural.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
asking you.
And
Is it, I don't know. I mean, should it say public art acquisition?
It says cleaning, it just makes it look like. it
Yeah,
costs-
I think
Well,
that's-
the cleaning is just wrong.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Okay.
But we should know what the 100,000 is, right? Not
Yeah,
just guess.
Yeah. So you'll have to find out what the 100,000
I'm
is.
pretty sure it's for, it
Wyatt?
was set aside for Wyatt.
Okay, so Wyatt mural, I think needs to be removed from the budget because the artist has passed, unfortunately. And legally, when we approve money, we approve it for a specific project, for a specific artist. And you can't just say, oh, we're gonna do this for this artist. Oh, you can't do it here. We'll just take that thing that everybody's approved and put it, and somebody else take that money.
So it would go back above into our budget.
Correct.
Opportunity, so
Correct.
we increase our budget
Yeah.
from 159 to 259.
So it does not mean that we won't repair the Wyatt mural. Because there's no way in hell repairing the Wyatt mural will be $100,000. If we do it as a painted mural, it will probably be, to repair it, I'm guessing 120. Okay, if we want to do it as tile, that'll be 400. So no matter what, this number has got to be redone. It's not accurate, even if it's, and we will not know until we determine which direction we're going, what artists we're hiring, what time of year it's being done, all those things. So we're still carrying $100,000. That it's not even the full amount.
Has anybody done an assessment on how, other than full removal with replacement with tile or full removal with painting? Has anybody done an assessment on how to restore it?
Yeah, Jay can get you all that. We did engineering reviews of the building as well. The problem with it is southern exposure. The irrigation destroyed the bottom half of the mural. It was repaired 10 years later. And now painting and mural repair has improved. And they have sort of non-fade sealants they can put on it. but it'll be a process. So. Okay. And then Jay, can you take us through these encumbrances down here? Because Roger Reutemann isn't doing his project anymore.
Right, so that one would be undone. That is an encumbrance.
Yep.
That encumbrance would need to be closed out.
And Art and Metal USA is Dragonfly?
No, I believe that is Lyle London. Oh, yeah, Lyle London.
Okay.
That's Dancer 6. And the 10,000s are just the remainder of their contracts. They had $50,000 contracts.
Okay, so where's Dragonfly? Have they been paid in full?
One, two, three, four, five. Sonora. Dragonfly has not been paid in full, but there's 5 here.
Yeah, but Roger Reutemann,
Okay, so
So-
Beautiful Shape.
yeah.
Yeah, Dragonfly,
So that needs to be added,
or substituted.
Yeah.
Yeah, should be Dragonfly.
but it won't be 30,000. Because that was the entire budget.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So does anyone, Michelle, you have any questions? I see you staring at these.
I just can see it bigger there than here. so.
Okay.
The Measure J money, is that money we have to repay or is that?
Yes,
given to us? What do we have to
eventually.
repay?
There's no,
In
as
time.
we get our, there's several big projects sort of hanging over, like the warehouses at the 10.
Mhm.
We will get a percentage of that.
Okay,
Assuming they don't want to use their money, it will go there.
so wasn't the other issue that we had with the developer funds was there was no timeline when they could ask for those funds back? Like they could ask 10 years later.
Correct.
So shouldn't we decide on maybe there should be a deadline?
That's in the
That's in the
ordinance review
ordinance-
discussion.
It is,
Yeah.
okay.
Probably don't want to hear from me, but,
I always want to hear, I just want to stay focused on the
I-
budget and then we can jump, to
focused on
okay,
the
then we can jump to ordinance discussion.
no.
Okay, okay.
I just want to have some suggestions as to if we're going to be doing this regularly.
Yes.
It would be really great to have like some underpinnings of the budget. So again, I want to go back to, we have some of that here, committed spend, overall
Right.
budget available, really to spend on art. What's really, so that, yes, this is maybe one larger overview, but we can look at, okay, we actually only have 40,000 this year to work with, or whatever it might be. So I would request that. And I think that we need to understand, I think we should have a review of our previous fiscal year budget to understand were things allocated properly? Did we actually spend the money? Is the money really still sitting there? So that we can,
I would even say
Be
the previous
responsible.
2 years.
that would be great.
Yeah,
That's
just because
even-
then you'll
that's
see a
even better.
trend. Yeah.
That's even better.
Yeah.
So that there's, the working budget, there's the commitments, so we really have an understanding of where we are,
Yeah.
not in this kind of
Yeah.
amorphous.
Yeah, and if I were to guess, I think you'd see that during the COVID times, there were not a lot of expenditures. There were still development fees coming in, so the budget got pretty big, 2023-ish. But then a lot of larger projects started going out the door, like the Pillars and Artscape and Park, so.
Okay, and then my other request would be, is there any way, given how Measure J works, which generally it's not loans, it's monies that go to projects. Is there a way we can convert what is now a loan to us to just a permanent contribution from Measure J for the fact that we are providing a public service?
We can. We don't even know what the final numbers for this are gonna be. Jay and I just sort of guesstimated for the 250,000, and I assured them it will come in lower. So we
Yeah.
will know what to ask. But I agree, I think that this is, the role of Measure J is community enhancement, and art in parks absolutely is
That's
community
why,
enhancement.
yeah, so it doesn't make
So-
sense we have to like locate it. like-
So, yeah, I'm assuming we are because that was the way they
Original
gave
agreement.
it to us. But once we know what the specifics are, I can then go back and say, would you consider just wiping the slate clean? They were hesitant to they thought they were giving money at first. And they were hesitant to because they did not know what their budget was for the year. So, and
Yeah.
you know, they try and be, they're the most serious of the commissions. They're very thoughtful.
And the other thing that would be very useful here, I think, which would help us with these kinds of conversations, is as a percentage. What is our operating percentage versus what actually goes into art? You know, if you look at this, I mean, I can guess it's almost like probably 90+% is art related. Maybe it's not. I think that's always good to know, like 10% goes to cleaning, whatever. Even though our overhead is very small, it's worth knowing.
I did that 3 years ago where I sort of did what percentage is maintenance, what percentage is actual art, and what percent is community outreach and things like that. And it was the first year, it was majority of it was like 50-50 maintenance versus actual art. But that was when it was adjacent during like the tail end of COVID, so there wasn't a lot of initiation. And then it jumped back up to art.
But if you think about it, we might be taking on moving art.
Yeah.
If we were taking on restoring art, knowing what we're spending of our budget on each of these activities as a percentage would be very valuable.
I would even split it out so it wasn't just maintenance, but also installation. I think installation is, and that's where the huge growing costs are. So, okay. Do we need to vote on this, or do you have notes and then you come back to us with a new budget and answers that we've?
It would be
questioned?
good to vote on it and to say we're going to remove the items that we said we're going to remove.
I will make the motion and then somebody needs to second it. I can make motions, can't I?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve removal from the budget as presented in front of us. The $96,000 in art valuation services, including the verification on the encumbered expenses. Remove the minor art repair and touch-up services of $25,000. Remove the $50,000 from PS Art Museum, and that is pending clarification if council intends that to come from our budget. And more detailed information on things such as the administrative services or what we assume that services and other equipment. And lastly, remove the $100,000 that we assume is for the Wyatt mural, but we're not sure what that $100,000 is. Did I miss anything?
I think I understood. I just want to clarify. Isn't the 25 going into the 50 under the repair and maintenance? It's not being removed. It's being combined as a one line item. Did I misunderstand?
No, that's what I understood.
Yeah.
That's what I thought as well.
Oh, we
Well,
combined them?
Okay, so it will go under repair and maintenance, but the contract that was just approved by city council is only for 50,000.
Because
So-
that was what we
So,
approved.
so by removing it, it just goes into a reserve or?
Correct. Yeah. So remove it. And then we may up it next
Right.
term, which is the value of seeing last year, the year before, and this year, and then when we approve the budget for the following year.
Yeah, so in the springtime, we'll have to come back and
Yeah.
amend the budget again for the next year.
Would someone like to second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent, we're unanimous. Okay. Next item. Discuss and approve approval process and criteria for commemorative memorial art. Tina, are you taking us through this?
Yes, hopefully you guys had a chance to read over some of the materials for this. One thing, I want to clarify what we're doing, because I think some people might be a little bit confused. The memorial / commemorative, whatever we're calling it, collection is not a subset of the civic art collection. What we're doing is we're classifying our art collection into two pieces: civic art, which is lawn chair, popsicles, crawler, and then memorial or commemorative art. They're equally as important. One is not, you don't get a demotion because your art piece was moved to the memorial collection. They're equally as important and they carry the same weight. it's, the memorial collection isn't like a less than piece of the art collection, if that makes sense. So
Mhm.
there's two pieces of, there's a public art collection, there's two classifications, civic art and then memorial, commemorative, whatever we're trying to call it. Just to make that clear, because I don't know if that was really clear last time, so. And the first thing we need to decide on is what we're calling it. When you look at other big cities who have memorial collections, if you will, usually they call it memorial and memorial collections. We don't have to call it that. I know we have toyed with the word commemorative. We seem to like that word more in this room, or we could call it something else. I mean, it's completely up to us at this point. So any ideas, discussions?
I like commemorative personally. I
I
think,
have a concern about commemorative, only if I could bring up the A's Memorial. Because I think it kind of fits into two categories.
Mhm.
And for me, commemorative would not be significant, but it is a memorial. Under this definition that you have written.
Yeah.
It would fall into that vision, if you will, right? I don't know if we intend to do that. But to me, commemorative is diminutive for me personally, in the way it talks about it, given what you just said, that this is not an action of making something less than.
Right.
Right? Commemorative seems to do that because badges and
Mhm.
things that are more like ribbons and things. That's just my take on the word itself.
Right.
Michelle, what are your thoughts? Commemorative? Yay, nay?
I can see both points, commemorative and memorial. I'm not really sure which way I would go yet.
Because commemorative is memorial, you know, it's the same root, just derivation of the other,
And there's monuments.
and monument, but monument is meant stature and importance. So commemorative is, you know, it's reflective, it's thoughtful. A commemoration. I'm gonna say, I don't think we should vote on this. I think this is better as a discussion at this point. And we can just touch on things that we want to look at and consider for the next meeting. I personally don't mind commemorative. I feel it's all encompassing. And I'm more concerned about pieces that are obvious. And so if pieces are currently in the collection, and again, the Ace Memorial, if it were just a big red ribbon, that to me is obviously commemorative. It's symbolic. It is, you know, what Philip K. Smith has designed invites reflection. Everybody will have a different perspective on it. You know, I went to the digging in the ground, groundbreaking, thank you. And I was looking at the model again, and I was thinking, you know, if you didn't know this was an AIDS memorial, you would not know it was AIDS specific. It could be for cancer, it could be veterans, it could be anybody. And really, as someone who, you know, I grew up in New York during the time of AIDS, and I didn't know anybody that died of AIDS. They died of cancer. They had a heart attack. They committed suicide because it wasn't said that they had AIDS. They had other issues. And so to me, it's better that it's a little broad. And then to me, the broader it is, it stays as part of the public art collection. And I would not vote to move it to the commemorative collection, personally. Now, by the time this happens, I may be off the commission. So
I liked what Lily said last meeting was, what is the intention of the artist? You know, if Philip Smith's thing was a commemorative piece for the AIDS epidemic and to sort of remember the people who died and was affected by AIDS. It's a beautiful piece, but if that's the direction, and I think it's a good one, it goes into the memorial collection. Because
Yeah, I was gonna, I guess, reiterate my own point. I think to that same point, something that comes to mind so immediately, and I think this is because I'm in the process of, you know, getting my degree in art history, but I know we're focusing on California cities, but it's the Vietnam War Memorial. That is a very artistically driven piece, but I don't think it doesn't take away the fact that it is still a memorial. And I think even with a memorial with an artistic direction doesn't make it any less more of a memorial. And I think just because something has that artistic value to it doesn't mean it shouldn't be classified for what it is and what it does. I don't know about the direction of commemorative or not. I kind of like what you have here with monuments and memorials, just because it kind of makes it easy in the sense that pieces that say memorial in the name kind of makes it a memorial. But that's just me. But I think it's important that maybe just kind of going through the eligibility and how we classify those things first, and then going and voting on a name based on how we're going to move those pieces around is probably a better idea. Because I think we're getting stuck on the top of it being a name, but I think the whole purpose is to redivide the collection into 2 equal parts. So I think maybe focusing on that would be easier.
And we may come up, doing that, we may come up with an entirely different name.
Exactly.
And again, the intent wasn't to, as you said, to lessen these things, but it's actually to elevate them.
Yeah.
You know, we have a section 14 marker, which
Is a plaque on a rock.
is a plaque on a rock. It's, you know, section 14 should be elevated more. You know, and yet as part of the public art collection, you look at it and say, well, that's not art, but it's importance of it.
Yeah. And I think seeing a collection, I think it's also kind of a part of a whole type situation too. The public art collection as it stands is, you know, there's a lot of pieces to it. But I think having it into subdivisions of a commemorative collection or whatever it ends up being, and a more, you know, general art collection makes each of those pieces a bigger part of that whole. And I think that's also important as well.
And it elevates the city overall.
That said, I think moving on to.
Mr. Jim, you always have thoughts, and they're very thoughtful.
My
Your
thought
thoughtful
is,
thoughts.
I'll come up with some thoughts. The
I
previous,
thought you would.
I did, the previous slide said that 2 major cities already use the word memorial, LA and San Francisco. And I have no doubt that they had a similar sort of debate before they ended up with that, or maybe one came first and the other followed suit. And to the extent that we compare our legislation as we develop it to other cities that have made it work, it becomes easier to articulate what we're doing and explain it to others if we not only point to the content of other cities with such statutes, but if we name it similarly and use the same naming conventions, because then we can more easily say, well, we're doing subsection B2 just as they and theirs did subsection B2. And
So, you know, you touched on something, you triggered something in my tired brain, that this started when the AIDS memorial process was not as run as efficiently as it should have been in terms of engaging with the community. And Pride Monument has been criticized the same way, but they still did engage with the community. And one of the things that is in here is to be included in the memorial monument or commemorative collection, whatever it is, there needs to be community engagement in a lot of ways. And we need community attachment to it. We need a community group to be attached to take this into the collection. So for future pieces, correct. But I'm saying like, so that, you know, we're sort of using what we learned and why we're revising, and for future ones to get in this thing, we need this. So I assume that eventually when the section 14 monument, memorial, whatever it's going to be that council agreed to, it will come into the collection, but there will be community outreach. They're not just going to have a group of 5 people saying, here's the artwork right here. It will be a methodical process.
well, that makes a lot of sense. I think we have a limited amount of time and attention, and for efficiency's sake,
Correct.
we don't need to relitigate some of these philosophical discussions that have occurred in other major cities. And if we think it's working for them, they can work well with us without having to spend 20 minutes parsing the difference between monument, memorial, commemorative.
I'd like to actually move on to.
I like this, Jim.
Yeah, as they walk so we could run kind of situation.
I like this, Jim. Okay.
I'm concerned about point 4.
Ineligibility.
Ineligibility as to its non-duplicative nature, in that it's very likely that, especially in our city,
Mhm.
that we could, as an example, end up with 2 AIDS Memorial.
Or two pride monuments.
And that's
Two pride
okay.
monuments,
And that's okay.
exactly.
The eligibility is more towards maybe the artistic side of it. It's like, we don't, if there's another AIDS memorial, that's fine, but it can't look like
The
Philip
exact
Smith's.
same thing.
Well, when you say must not duplicate, to me, I hear that as to the focus, not to the appearance.
Yeah, it does say an existing commemoration, maybe would be better, like duplicate in visual appeal
Mhm.
to an
Well, so we
existing
have
piece.
the two plaques, and one is for Morris Kite, who's the father of Pride. And then we have the Pride Monument. And we have the LGBTQ plus gay veterans. Doesn't mean that we can't do another veterans
Yeah,
memorial.
I'm just.
Yeah, so I, so
when
I,
read
so I think
this,
we need to
it's
be, you know, sort of,
clear.
it can be a little multifaceted.
Yeah.
Or we can take it out. I mean, a lot of these points were taken from San Francisco's and LA's pieces, ordinances. If we don't think that that's appropriate for Palm Springs, then we can take it out.
I think for this one too, in favor of maybe not having it, is just the fact that the Public Arts Commission does work on approval of new pieces anyways. So if, 5 years from now, the Public Arts Commission feels that a new piece going in is just repetitive and unnecessary, and that maybe a new design should be done, that's a them problem, as opposed to making it a plot, like a bullet point for the eligibility of these pieces.
What if it's a gift? Do we, I don't quite understand, if somebody wants to give the city a memorial, let's say somebody comes in with another
Mhm. Yep.
land.
So the two plaques were gifts.
Well, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
so if we were to take it out and we're taking a gift, can we still refuse a gift?
So I would keep it in, but I would add in, must not duplicate the intention of an existing commemoration.
Or the visual
Well, I think,
intention.
but I like the idea of the intention because, again, somebody may come to us and say, I want to do lesbian pride. Well,
Right.
it's still pride, but it's a different intention within the pride.
True.
And we're not going to say, well, no, lesbians were included in pride. It's the full rainbow. Somebody may say, we're going to pay for this. And we've got a community group that's going to support it and they're going to fund it. And here's what it is.
Right.
Of course, we would accept that.
Right, but we just said earlier that it's not meant to say we can't have multiple memorials to the same topic. So I'm just using.
Yeah.
You just strike out must not, which is prohibitive language,
Yeah, or like
and
should
say
be.
the monument or memorial ideally would not duplicate an existing commemoration. This gives our predecessors much more flexibility to determine in
Or
the
should be
totality of
mindful
that
of.
specific case, is it duplicative or not? And in the
Yes.
instance of this, you just gave this example of the specifically lesbian monument, for
Yeah.
example. A future commission wouldn't be bound by the must not duplicate and then get into that debate. Instead, it would be, no, we don't think it duplicates the previous.
Yeah.
I think another thing to consider is, and as you said, gifts. We can be as hardline as we feel is necessary based on experience for using public art funds for something. So the Public Art Commission should not fund a memorial if there's already one in the collection. We should not be using public art funds to install one that's gifted and donated if there's one in the collection. So I think that, I agree, must not, it's a little hard.
I just remove must not.
Yeah, just.
Make
or,
it something,
know,
because the
Should be
LGBTQ
mindful of.
plus community can't even decide which stripes belong in or out of the
Exactly.
pride flag.
Exactly.
And,
And there's also so many different pride flags too, like
So-
even in the idea of.
So, and I would say, the intent.
Mhm.
I think every one of these should have intent and community alignment.
Yeah, maybe in getting into nitty gritty, should say something like the monument and memorial should be mindful of existing commemorative pieces.
Or complement existing pieces.
Well, that's really the role of the commission too.
Yeah.
You want the commission to have some agency with this.
And some of this is for our benefit, so we can point to an ordinance and say, well, we're not accepting your gift because it doesn't meet this eligibility.
And that's what I'm thinking. It's not a yes or no. It
Right.
gives you the right to debate and
Yeah.
consider, right?
Yeah.
But I think the idea of what uses commission money
Mm-hmm.
is very specific and changes some of these requirements and eligibility issues as well.
Yeah. The other things that are on here, the number two, for a person or event, it has to have been occurred, or the person has to be deceased at least 5 years. That is something new for us because if that ordinance had been here, we would not have some of the art pieces that we currently have. So kind of think about, does that work? Does 5 years work? Does,
It'll take that long for the city
Which-
to
which
install it.
piece would it be? Is it,
well, the I
regards to
can't
deceased?
breathe mural, that would never have happened because it didn't follow that rule.
Yeah.
So,
Remove must and say should. Or ideally would.
Yeah, I think, because 5 years is one thing, but that's like saying that like a COVID-19 like memorial wouldn't be valid until right now.
So,
When I think COVID-19 was so impactful as a
Yeah, but
whole,
that's-
and right after it happened.
yeah,
It has to be a historic moment, like, it has to represent a historic moment if it's an immediate.
So
Right,
let's,
so I
let's be theoretical here again. Barry Manilow, who's done so much for the city. He has friends, funders, and they say, we want to donate a statue of Barry Manilow. And we want it to be, we're not gonna say, he's not dead yet. We tell him to die, and then come
And
back
then
to us in
wait
5
5
years,
years.
yeah.
5 years.
So I would love something with Barry Manilow. I think that would be amazing. He's done so much for the city, but I'm not gonna say no because he's not dead.
Right.
So let's be practical here. I don't think we need to have the dead one in there.
Not the dead one, okay.
This
Yeah.
also says.
I would love a Barry Manilow piece in the public art collection.
Just edited the copy.
Yeah.
This also says individual must be deceased for 5 years too, so even in the case that someone passes, you wouldn't have to wait 5 years, given this verbiage.
Well, no, it says for the
You could
event.
just say the commission
Yeah.
the commission has the leeway to determine the relevance and the immediacy and importance of whatever event or person is being commemorated.
But can't we just leave it at for works depicting actual people or historical events will be considered?
I would
Yeah.
even
Just leave it
add
at that?
something, actually, if the person is still alive, we need their permission,
Oh, yeah.
by the way.
Okay.
You have my blanket.
Or their
permission.
estate, their
Mhm,
person
their
or their
family.
estate. So, for example, the Maryland statue is licensed from her estate.
The approval process, going back to gifting, it's very similar to our current approval process. We're not trying to like be punitive or anything like that. There are two pieces that are added to our current approval process. One is they have to provide adequate funding. We are not, from now on, we do not want to be responsible for the maintenance of these pieces.
Yeah.
So for instance, if I nominate a Barry Manilow statue, my organization has to be the one to install it, clean it, maintain it.
Like, independent from the city, or they need to fund into escrow?
Fund into
Fund-
escrow.
Fund into escrow.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and I would say even maybe like, depending on the piece, I
How do
probably
you-
wouldn't say they maintain it, but the commission has the opportunity to insist on maintenance or repair.
And how do you determine the next 30 years of funding required in the net present value? So you know what
Yeah.
you're asking them to fund.
That's the question. That's a huge question. And if the organization decides or disbands, then what happens? So,
That first sentence implies to me that this new category of work, memorials, monuments, are only brought into the collection when they're a gift. Wouldn't it instead be new works for the sub-collection that are contributed to formal gift should follow these standards?
Correct.
But we may of our own volition decide to create memorials
Yeah.
and monuments.
And for clarity, we're gonna make recommendation, the city lawyer will draft
Yeah.
these in their language.
Yeah.
So that this is not going into legal like this. They will draft, so they will ensure that we're in compliance with
I
the
understand.
state and all that.
Let's just not mistakenly say that in future memorials shall only come from private gifts.
Yeah, I would, and Tina, I would say, rather than adequate funding, I'd say that the commission has the right to ask for funding.
In regards to maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think you're getting into a quagmire.
yeah.
When you're talking about maintenance, it could be
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on the piece.
Okay, I'll work on that.
Okay, so why don't you make these revisions, circulate them again, and then we'll
This is
discuss them
great.
again in January.
This is great.
Good
This all
work.
makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Next, public art ordinance review. Jay and Sam and the city lawyer and Lori and I met last week. I've lost track. Monday, this week. And we reviewed a lot of stuff, and there was a lot of thoughtful discussion on there on the economic development rule of it and the finance rule of it. And a lot of stuff that go beyond our jurisdiction, however, they are still in our ordinances. And so what I suggested is that we set up a subsequent discussion meeting in January or February, hopefully January. And we pull in somebody from finance, somebody from the mayor, the city manager's office, somebody from economic development to be part of this discussion, to hear our concerns as well. Our major issue is we need to get the ordinance revised so that the money that is being paid into our public art fund has a deadline of when developers need to claim it. And because people are signing contracts, and the contracts that they signed will have this thing in there still. So what Jay has asked the lawyer to do is to make some semantic changes to the overall ordinances up front, rather than, using they, them and language like that, just consistency with the rest of the state. And then there will be revision to this specific part of our ordinance. This is not the entire revision. It's just, think of it as a temporary Band-Aid to get us through the next couple months. That will be coming to us probably at our January meeting, hopefully, if not the February meeting that we can vote on, and then it will go to council at that point. But this is not the end of the ordinance review by any stretch of the imagination. It's dealing, as I said, with sort of linguistic changes and acceptability, and then this one specific
And I
challenge.
believe even that process requires 2 readings for an ordinance change, so it'll go to the council one time, sit, and then go back to the council for final adoption. So
But it's just that one item, because we had a very detailed.
No, it's just the one item and then the linguistic changes in there. It's not changing the intent of anything else. It was just stuff that we are consistent with what the state is. Okay. Next is Artscape in the Park. Jay, please don't depress me anymore.
All right. I think it just depends on how I say it, right?
Yeah.
Things are going.
Well, and they've been going. So, yes, I think you all know that all of the Artscape in the Parks artists have submitted the required drawings. They have gone into the permit review process, but I think every single one of them was kicked back for additional corrections. And at this point, I think every single one of them have made those corrections and have resubmitted. And so they're going through the hopefully final approval process. And with that, I think technically there's a 30-day period that the building department has to review the permits. And so that would maybe put us at the end of December. And then after that, if the permits are granted, we see late January, early February as a time when the art would be installed. And I'm factoring in there some time early January when the bases would hopefully be poured for these artworks.
And so Jay, again, I won't ask why the building department is making revisions on things that they've had for a year. And why they're making double revisions for something they've had for a year. And why they have a 30-day grace period to review them when they've had them for a year. But I just want that public because it's embarrassing to the commission, it's embarrassing to the communities, and it's embarrassing for city staff, quite frankly. Okay, but thank you for taking the lead on this. And let's get this done. Have you heard any updates? I know this is off topic, updates on the Creature Alley? Has he received his payment?
We're processing the contract now, so I don't know if they've actually, if Delos has started
Okay.
fabricating yet.
Art maintenance inventory, Natasha's not here. I don't think there's anything to talk about
Well,
that.
you know, I would, for art maintenance inventory, I did check with our GIS department.
Oh, okay.
They had taken Natasha's Google Maps and have duplicated that in the city's GIS system. So
Oh, great.
it won't be publicly available until the springtime, but at least they've got to start on it, so.
So at what point then can we start doing curated art walks?
I can access it now, so if you.
So you can have
would
Jay's
like
favorite
to-
pieces?
Yeah, so I
Cameras.
mean, if there's a neighborhood you want to focus on, we can identify which pieces are in that area and
And-
plan the walk that way.
Can we maybe put them on an upcoming calendar? Have them maybe February, because our January is already full, and have them present to us?
GIS.
So that, you know, what Natasha did was very rudimentary. And the goal is to have a photo of the art on there.
Right. We're not there yet.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. But I
It's a
want,
dot
but I
on
think
the
as
map.
they're building, we need to tell them what we want to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, what the capabilities are, I think is
Yeah.
what we're looking for. Like,
Yeah.
can we add photos?
Yeah.
Can we sort in certain ways? And
And then eventually this would go on a dedicated website that would be part of, Visit
Visit Palm Springs.
Visit Palm Springs. I think they said they would host it.
Okay, I mean,
Well, the city would have it, it would be on the city website, but it would be hosted on Visit Greater Palm, so the city would redirect.
yeah, I mean, it will be on the city's GIS site.
Yeah.
So there's that, if anyone wants to pick up, link to it. I don't know if they can grab the data and refine it if they want, but it'll be on the city's website.
also, Jay, a process on how to update it, like as we add or move pieces, we need a process for that.
Yeah, so this would be good for February. We'll be in good moods at that point.
Yeah, my understanding is, and I'm not great at GIS, I just understand it's more data driven.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a table, you change the latitude, longitude for the location, and it moves.
Okay.
So I'm hoping, but
It's clever. Taming of the horses, Mr. Brickley, do you have an update on the contract you guys are redoing with the Wash area?
I do.
Okay.
So it's still in legal review with the city.
Yeah.
We have sent our draft, all of our markups back to legal. So once we have that finalized and then we have agreement with both Riverside County Flood Control and the city, we'll bring it to city council hopefully soon. And a big driver here is this, it's not only taming the horses, there's a lot of other Measure J projects and other relevant projects that are also driving this. So there's a big push, there's a lot of support behind this to make it happen quickly. So once city council approves that, then we should be able to move forward. That being said, the next city council meeting is not till at least January, so.
Commissioner agenda requests and comments. Anybody have anything to discuss at the January, February meeting?
I have one thing I just wanted to add that I was thinking about.
Okay,
Regards to when, as we're doing this financial,
Yep.
rework, is if we're able to get on a monthly basis, new permit for counties that want that, and we have a date certain that people have to use it by, and we can estimate construction times.
Yeah.
We would be able to forecast it out a number of years. And it would be interesting to start forecasting budgets from a revenue side at some point. If we want to take on any big projects or whatever. So it's just something that.
yeah, I
can
don't,
add
we,
on
we
as a
can't discuss that
discussion.
now.
No.
I have some, I want to talk about that publicly, so remind me,
That's why I'm asking.
remind me at the next meeting. Okay. Michelle, anything to discuss? Okay, great. Jay, anything from you?
yes, apologies, commissioners, I forgot to hit record at the last meeting, so we will not have a video. Hopefully the minutes will suffice. I do have a little more information. I was able to capture a transcript, so please let me know if there's any additional information you want from the last meeting.
I just want to close with, this is our last meeting of the year. This has been a very efficient, thoughtful commission. I'm sorry she's not around to hear this. I was very sorry that Carlos is leaving, but hopefully we get some really dynamic commissioners to replace him. The Art Commission has completely changed since I came on board. A, because we have money, B, because we have Jay, and we have the energy of the commissions. And so we're doing a lot of complex work that, as you've heard, these are budget requirements. We have contract requirements, all these things that sort of change everything that we're doing. But it's really good, impactful work. I was at the State of the City, and I was manning the booth for Sister Cities, and I had 5 or 6 people came up who recognized me from being on KESQ for the Art Commission. And they just started talking about the art in the city that they loved. Everybody loves the public art. So that's great. You are doing really wonderful things on behalf of the city. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jay. I beat you up a lot, but I always tell you in advance.
Yeah, you guys are doing great.
So,
Really are.
and you know, it's, as I said, it's complex work. It's not easy, but it's important. So thank you. Have a happy holiday. Okay. And would someone like to make an adjournment?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Okay.
With
You have to read it, and it's January 8th.
Public Arts Commission will now adjourn to meeting on a date to be determined. Now,
January 8th.
January 8th, 2026, in the large conference room in Palm Springs.
5:30 p.m. Second? All in favor? Aye.
Thank you, Jim.
Did you notice in the mayor's public arts slide that
Oh, yeah.
was it-
Yeah.